In a call with American Jewish leaders, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called Vladimir Putin's actions pure Nazi behavior. Listen.
This is just pure Nazism. He's just destroying the citizens of Ukraine of different nationalities. We have to kneel down, give our weapon away. We have to hoist the Russian flag. We should say that we don't want anything. We want to put our hands up. Listen, all of this already happened in Europe. All of this happened during Nazi times. This all happened where the German army rolled through Europe, and everyone gave the Jewish people away, putting them into ghetto.
Joining me now is William C. Daroff. He is the CEO of the Conference of Presidents of Major American Jewish Organizations, and arranged that video call with President Zelensky. Very nice to see you again. Before we talk about the call itself, I just want to remark on this phenomenon. The New York Times did a nice story about this. There's been so much suffering over centuries for Jews in this region, whether it be pogroms or the Holocaust. It's such an interesting moment right now where things, to an extent, have gone full circle, where Jews around the world, there's a huge outpouring of support in the Jewish community for the suffering, for the people suffering in Ukraine right now. Just explain that to me.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having me back on the show. It is really remarkable that Jews all around the world are standing shoulder to shoulder with our Ukrainian brothers and sisters, Jews and non-Jews alike. As you mentioned, we have a tortured history in Ukraine where for literally the Jews were there for hundreds of years and suffered through pogroms and through the Holocaust. But to this day have had a real revitalization of the Jewish life in Ukraine, where there are tens of thousands of Jews who, up until this current crisis, have lived in peace and harmony with their neighbors and are a key component of the mosaic that is Ukraine in the 21st century. And in fact, President Zelensky, whom you mentioned was with us yesterday on our video conference, is a member of the Jewish community and someone who really has strong feelings of connectivity with the Jewish community in Ukraine and across the world.
So when President Zelensky, who, as you mentioned, is Jewish, says to you all in this conference call that what Vladimir Putin is doing is pure Nazi behavior, what was the reaction?
Well, I think there were audible sighs from the crowd, where many of us felt he was very emotional. We could connect to the history in Ukraine, the history of Jews in Europe, which has been one where we were ghettoized, where we were discriminated against, where we were made to starve by Nazis, by Soviets, and the like. And while I don't endorse the idea of connecting any contemporary historical events to the Holocaust, I think the Holocaust is a unique event in and of itself. His emotionality and his connection to that was something that was palpable. There was a Russian attack on Babin Yar Memorial, which was the largest site of the so-called Holocaust by bullets, where there were, in a 72-hour period in September 1941, 33,000 Jews were murdered. And there was a Russian attack that hit that site. And my understanding in talking with President Zelensky is that he had a real emotional connection to that, and it really opened up his eyes to this connection of what he's undergoing now with the torment and the torture that Jews underwent during the Holocaust.
Yeah, the chief rabbi of Ukraine told us after the attack on Babin Yar, he basically said they're killing the Babin Yar victims again, which is pretty vivid imagery.
Yeah, it's a remarkable site. I was there for the groundbreaking this fall of the new memorial, which President Zelensky has been a key player, and it's remarkable. There were, as I said, 33,000 Jews who were killed in a 72-hour period, and then over 100,000 others who were killed along the way during the war. And to have that sacred site damaged in this wanton way by Russia is remarkable and something that has been condemned across the world.
And very quickly, Vladimir Putin from the start himself has used this absurd rhetoric of denazification as a justification for this invasion.
Yeah, I would say, just as I mentioned about President Zelensky, I think that that is absurd. I think that we should leave the Holocaust in history and not compare it to contemporary matters. And the fact that he would say that Ukraine needs to be denazified when, in fact, the leader of the country is Jewish and many of the top leaders is Jewish just shows the ridiculousness of that claim. One other thing that President Zelensky mentioned was the nuclear terrorism of Russia, talking about the attack on the Ukrainian nuclear plant. And he made the connection about how, at the same time that Russia is undertaking this nuclear terrorism. They're around the table in Vienna putting together the Iran deal, which press reports say they'll be a key component of. And he mentioned the hypocrisy of that, too. That on the one hand, the West is saying he's a nuclear terrorist and someone who can't be trusted. But with the right hand, we're looking apparently for him to be front and center in the Iran nuclear deal. And that's also a key concern of the American Jewish community.
William Daroff, nice to see you this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.